welcome back to another career conversation with Amanda. I am here with Emily from Warren Averett, and today we're going to talk about professional etiquette in the office after landing a job or internship.
Thanks, Amanda, for having me. I'm excited to be here. Like she said, my name is Emily Marlowe. I'm a campus recruiter with Warren Averett. And for those who don't know, Warren Averett is a CPA and advisory firm. We're currently celebrating 50 years of service to our clients. We are a regional firm. We're headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama, but we have multiple locations across the Southeast, including Atlanta. And our core services are traditional accounting, but we also offer other things like personal finance services, HR solutions, other things like that. Anything we can to, help our clients succeed.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
So let's dive into the topic. What does it mean to be professional in the workplace?
Yeah, I think being professional is just making sure you hold yourself to a certain set of standards, maybe that you wouldn't in your personal life, but just being aware of other people around you, how they may work differently from you, how they may communicate differently from you, and just being aware of that and being able to communicate well with them. And another way I like to consider it is just being aware of your audience. So I may communicate differently and more professionally with you than I would with one of my closest coworkers versus one of our top clients. There's different audiences and different ways to be professional around those people. And the last piece of advice I guess I have about being professional is being a brand ambassador, and understanding that your professionalism goes into your personal life. So people around you do know the firm or the company that you work for, and you want to put them in the best light, even if you're not in your place of work.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. Does it look different in a virtual environment?
Yeah, for sure. We've been seeing that a lot, obviously, with the pandemic. Communication is key. You're not in person as much. You're not picking up on those body language cues and tone and things like that if you're just messaging somebody or emailing somebody. So just being hyper aware of those things and maybe not taking things too personally. If people are super short with you, they just communicate that way.
Yeah, a lot of different personalities come into play when we're in the workplace, and I know that I don't ever really stop and think, not ever, but I don't really take the time to stop and think about how my response might be taken if I'm having a stressful day or whatever, and just trying to like step back and say, oh, I probably could have handled that a little differently, or oh yeah, it's just sort of a stressful type thing.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it. Especially I think people can get self-conscious about it when it's coming from a superior, and just understanding that they have a lot going on, and not take it personally. And another thing too, like I'm guilty of, is say you're communicating with somebody over email. If they say something and in your head you've got it, you don't need to respond. A lot of times they're looking for a confirmation back from you. So over communicating typically is never bad. So it's always good to just be clear and things like that.
Great. Yeah. So what is acceptable as professional attire? I know that some firms, you can wear jeans, some firms you can't. What does that look like when you're trying to dress professionally in the workplace?
Yeah, I think the first thing to consider is the company culture. So I know specifically at Warren Averett, we have more of a business casual wear, but we also have a policy that's called dress for your day. So for example, if I'm meeting with clients, one of our top clients, I'm probably going to wear like, a suit and tie or a suit, things like that. But if I'm just going to be in the office and around my coworkers, then business casual is more appropriate. But there are some firms that have that sort of business professional every day. So it really just depends on the company. And I think when you're first starting, always overdress and then, do a little more surveying and then go from there.
Yeah, it's better to be overdressed than underdressed for sure.
Exactly.
Just in general, I think I learned that when I was in college too, and I was like, oh, okay, that's a good idea of doing it, and then slowly sort of being able to adjust to whatever your team and whatever it looks like.
Yeah, and I think another good piece of advice is dress for the job you want. Like, although I may not be super excited to wear a suit every day or wear business casual every day, it's a good impression for those around you and know that that you take your job seriously. So
great. So on the flip side of professional, what are common unprofessional traits that we see in the workplace?
I think back to communication, if there's poor communication or something that's maybe seen as incorrect, like I said, if you're being unresponsive to emails, I think that can be seen as unprofessional. And also just broadcasting your opinions about, your coworkers or about a client or just any sort of negative comments. I think that can be very dangerous, and many people see that as unprofessional. So just keeping those things to yourself. If you need to tell a personal friend after work about it, then go for it. But in the workplace, that's not the smartest idea. So
Yeah, so I would say the same thing, especially for professional environments that I've been in. It doesn't really have a lot to do with the way that we dress, but it more like the way that we talk and how we feel about things or express ourselves when it comes to those difficult situations, for sure.
yeah, and I think another thing too, especially among like our younger professionals or interns, we've seen, not we, but I think the industry sees a lot of students that maybe don't take other people's time seriously. A lot of times in the accounting industry, these students and young professionals are looking to their supervisors for help on certain projects. And it's very unprofessional if you're, on your phone or not paying attention while they're trying to help you and answer those questions you've asked them. So
Yeah, definitely the generation of phones, growing up with that and, not knowing what it was like without one or things like that definitely can provide a hindrance to communication and connection, for sure.
yeah, exactly.
How would you become more professional? So say that you're an intern, you've never really been into the corporate world before, you're coming in. How do you handle yourself in a professional manner if you're not really sure?
Yeah, I think that goes back to some of the stuff we've been saying, is just looking at your surroundings, how other people are carrying themselves. If you ever have questions, you can always talk to your supervisor or HR coordinators, things like that. And also, if people, have anxiety about how to handle things professionally, just look back on the way that you would have communicated with the professor, or if you're working in these group projects, working together as a team, handle it in that same situation, be respectful of other people. So
yeah, I think a lot of, internships are there for the development of the person. Obviously, you're there to help the firm and learn, but also being able to develop in a professional manner and understand, oh, okay, this is what it looks like to work at a public accounting firm or industry or whatever it is. And realizing that every team is different, but the way that we can handle ourselves professionally can be consistent across the board.
yeah, for sure. And I think like a lot of students or young professionals, once they get into the job after a first, couple weeks or so, they can definitely see what's happening in their surroundings and go from there. And usually people settle in pretty quick. So
cool. So yeah, are there any last advice or thoughts on professional etiquette in the office?
I think the best piece of advice is just when in doubt, play it safe. You can never be too professional in most cases. And if you ever do have hesitations or concerns, it's never a bad idea to ask somebody within your firm that you can trust, or if you have concerns there, even go to a professor or somebody that you're close to. That would be good to have good advice for things like that. But
yeah, use your resources, as many as you can, and like realizing that there are a lot. So like you said, professor, advisor, when you're in an internship, an HR coordinator, or a fellow colleague or another intern or whatever that is. So yeah, definitely utilizing as many resources as you possibly can to be the best that you can be.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for talking about professional etiquette with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Amanda. It's been fun, and best of luck to all the students in this next semester. So.
Thanks.